Hey guys, it's Alex, and I am here with my very first Readathon TBR. I have never participated in a readathon before, so I decided what better way to start than with a Harry Potter themed one. So I decided to do the NEWTs Readathon, which goes for the entire month of August. It is being hosted by Book Roast, and I will link her original video to the readathon down below, where she explains kind of like the specifics that I'm not really going to get into. Basically, for this readathon, there are different challenges that correspond with the Harry Potter classes, and for each class or subject, there are 3 challenges, and if you complete 1 challenge, you get an A, if you complete 2, you get an E, and if you complete 3, you get an O, which is acceptable, exceeds expectations, and outstanding, which are the 3 passing grades for Harry Potter. You're supposed to do the Owls Readathon first, but I'm a heathen and never did that, so I just picked random subjects, and I'm attempting to complete 3 full ones, so I have 9 books on this list, and it wouldn't be a Slytherin TBR if it wasn't ambitious, right guys? I'm also wearing my very Slytherin shirt today that you will probably see a lot of this month, because I decided to do like a themed Harry Potter month, and realized that a lot of my Harry Potter clothing is long-sleeved and very warm, which is much too hot for summer. The first subject I'm doing is potions, and the first challenge for that is read a book with a color in the title. I'm a Slytherin, so of course I picked the color green, and I am reading Green Suede Shoes by Larry Kerwin. This is Larry Kerwin's memoir. He was the frontrunner and lead singer of Black 47, which is a Celtic rock band formed in New York in 1989. I actually didn't know anything about the band before I picked up this book. He seems like a very interesting guy. He was born in Ireland and moved to America, I think in his teen years or early 20s, was heavily involved in the music scene in the Bronx. He's very political, very interesting, seems like a very intelligent guy. I did look up Black 47, and they're not exactly my style of music, but I do like a few of their songs, and I will listen to them more. But I'm really excited to pick this up. The second challenge for potions is read a book with a male main character, and I have The Plot Against America by Philip Roth, which you can see on the side. This has no dust jacket. This is an alternate history book that basically details what would have happened if theoretically Charles Lindbergh had become president in 1940 instead of Franklin Roosevelt, and it follows a young fictionalized version of Philip Roth, I believe. Honestly, I've been really craving alternate histories lately, and this is the only one on my shelf, so I decided to go with that. And the third and final challenge is to read a book with over 350 pages, and I have The Lightless Sky by Gawali Pasarle. This is 360 pages, just like, including the epilogue, it's like 360, so it just barely hits that. But I've had this checked out from the library for a while, and I really need to get to it. It's about an Afghani refugee who was 12 years old when he left Afghanistan and wound up traveling across half the world and various countries, and it sounds like a really interesting book. The second subject I'm attempting to accomplish is Ancient Runes, and the first challenge for Ancient Runes is read a book set in the past. And for that I have Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. This is set during Nazi Germany in the 40s. It is about Hitler's niece, and basically her sort of realizing that her father, who was supposedly a martyr for the cause, might have actually been murdered by Nazis. She meets a Jewish reporter who teaches her that, you know, the Nazi Aryan way isn't necessarily right, and it's just sort of about that. It's not about Hitler's real niece, which was slightly disappointing to me. It's just completely fictionalized. She's a made-up person, but it still sounds like it could be really interesting. The second challenge is read the most ancient book on your shelves that you haven't read yet, and for this I picked Endless Love by Scott Spencer. This is not the oldest book on my shelf that I haven't read, nor has it been on my shelf for a particularly long time, but it is from the 1970s. I believe this edition of this book was printed in 1979, which is when it was published. So it is a fairly old book physically, and it's been on my TBR for years, so I decided it counted. I actually have watched the movie for this book already, and the movie was complete trash, but somehow after watching the movie I came to realize that First of all, it was based on a book, because I didn't know that. And second, that the book was completely different, whereas the movie was heavily romance and more of like a Romeo and Juliet plotline with two kids whose parents are trying to keep them apart. This is more about a guy who becomes obsessed with this girl and stalks her, I believe. So I'm really, really excited about this. I've wanted to read it ever since I watched the movie because it sounds so much better than the movie, and it's a very long book, so I'm slightly concerned for the readathon, but I do want to read it, so hopefully I'll have time to get through it. And the final challenge for Ancient Runes was read a book that was translated from another language, and I picked The Reader by Bernard Schlink. This is literary fiction about a teenage boy who falls in love with an older woman, and they have an affair, and then she disappears, and they sort of meet up later, and I'm not sure what happens. I picked this up from a thrift store, but it's quite famous, and I've gotten several people telling me that I should read this book after I hauled it, so about a year later, I'm finally getting to it. And the final subject I've decided to attempt is charms. The first challenge for charms is read a book with magic in it, and for that I picked The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is also quite a thick book. It's young adult fantasy. I know it's quite beloved by pretty much everyone. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about this book, and it's been on my shelf for a while, so I decided to pick it up, and I'm like 98% certain there's magic in it, because it is fantasy, but if there's not, please let me know. The second challenge is read a book with a cover that charmed you, and for that I have A Walk Across the Sun by Corbin Addison. I had this on my top 5 covers. I think the cover of this is absolutely gorgeous. I love the design, I love the matte look to it, and I love the earthy tones. And the story actually sounds very good. It's about the sex trade in India and a few kids who are involved in it and trafficked, as well as a man from the United States who's sort of working to save them. And I'm hoping that it's going to be as good as the cover is pretty, but we shall see. The final challenge for this subject, and the final challenge I'm attempting to complete as a whole, is read a book that you think will leave a mark, and for that I have Without You There Is No Us by Suki Kim. This is a memoir of a woman who was a teacher in North Korea for a while. She's an Korean-American woman. It sounds very interesting. It sounds like it's going to be an amazing book. I actually thought it was a novel when I first picked it up, but it's not. It's also pretty much the shortest book on this TBR. 9 books isn't necessarily a lot for a readathon in a whole month, because I can easily get through 9 books in a month. However, these aren't 9 easy books. They're all rather lengthy and rather difficult genres, so I know that this is incredibly ambitious, and I will probably not get through all of them, but whatever I don't get through is just going to be turned into my September TBR after the readathon is over. But I'm going to try to complete as many of these challenges as possible so I can represent for my other Slytherins out there. Let me know down below if you're also doing the NEWTs Readathon. I would really love to see any TBRs or vlogs you guys are planning to do, because I'm kind of planning to do an entire Harry Potter themed month. Next week I'm going to film my whole Harry Potter collection, which, as you can see behind me, is kind of overflowing on the shelf, and I might even do the Harry Potter tag if you guys are interested in that. Harry Potter is probably my favorite thing ever. As always, thank you guys for watching and commenting, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!